Today I want to talk about selling. Sales. Are you a salesperson? Or does the thought of selling or being a salesperson or dealing with a salesperson make you cringe a little bit? Does it make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up a little bit? For some people it does, and I know that there's this whole idea out there about sales being pushy and sales being something that's like a negative thing. It has a negative connotation around it. But today I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can be in sales and sell to your prospects and clients without being pushy. And I want to help dispel that whole feeling about sales being a negative experience or this kind of battle that you have to go into ready to fight, and I'm not going to be sold. So let's get right into it. So, one of the things I love to share with people when we talk about sales are some quotes from Zig Ziglar. So, 2 of them stick out in my mind, and they have just helped me through this whole experience because I've been in sales for, oh my gosh, probably 25 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. And sometimes I was in sales and didn't quite realize that I was selling because it was building relationships. But in reality, a lot of the time we are actually selling, but if we're doing it the right way, it might not even feel like it because it's not being pushy and it's actually building a relationship. But 2 of the quotes that he was famous for, one of them, he said that people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. And you see it all the time. We were out at a shopping center on Saturday, and my goodness, I couldn't believe some of the stores that we were in. We couldn't even get down the aisle. There were so many people out shopping, and it's not a holiday. It's just a random Saturday in July. It's not even back to school shopping time yet. But these stores were just packed because people love to buy things, but they don't like being sold or necessarily feeling like they're being sold. So, how can we change that? How can we not be a pushy salesperson when it comes to our business? Because we have to make sales, right? Sales is the lifeblood of our business. Nothing happens in our business until the sale is made. So, let's talk about that today. I have 3 tips for you. And then the other thing I want to share with you from Ziglar, he said that sales is a transference of feeling. This one that's a quote and a thought that I shared with our sales team all the time because it really is a transference of feeling. If you're excited about your product and all of the bells and whistles, or if you are a service company and you know that you provide outstanding service and your technicians are the best and you give great service to your clients and stand behind your work, you're going to transfer that feeling to your clients and they're going to love to buy from you because you're so passionate about it. So if you can do those things, you can help people buy in a way where they're excited about it because they do love to buy things and transfer that positive feeling around it. Sales can go from being this experience to something positive and happy that people walk away feeling good about giving you their money. So let's start right at that. Selling is not a bad thing, okay? So here's tip number 1 to help you go from being a pushy salesperson. Let's reframe it. We're going to be a positive sales consultant. So the first thing is that selling ain't telling, okay? Let's unpack that a little bit. What do I mean, selling ain't telling? Well, if you feel like you are just nonstop talking in the sales process, then you probably are, and you are probably talking too much. You need to get really good and comfortable with asking questions. So, in sales, questions are your best friend. So, how can you do that? If you don't know what the client or the prospect needs, how on earth can you sell them anything, whether it's a product or a service? You have to get to the root of what they're looking for and why they called you in the first place. So here are some examples of questions that I want you to get comfortable asking, whether it's on the phone or in person. How did you hear about us? Why did you come in today? How did you hear about our company? What exactly are you looking to have done in your home or to your car, whatever industry you're in, insert that at the end of it. What exactly are you looking to have done here? How soon are you looking to have this project done? What area of town are you in? What's your address? What's your zip code? So, a lot of these questions you can ask them at the beginning of the conversation, and that's going to help you narrow down whether you can even help them or not. Again, we're looking at ways to take you from being a pushy salesperson to being a sales consultant that's actually helping your prospect get to what they want to buy and what they need to solve their problem. So, asking those questions at the outset of the conversation can help you if you can actually even service them. Maybe they're not in the right service area. They're in a part of town or zip code that you don't even go to. And here you might go through telling them all about your business and then you can't even service them. Or maybe they need it done today and your next opening is not until 2 weeks from now. So, it's actually going to help you be a better consultant by asking all of these questions and figuring out if you can even help them or not. Here's an example. So I get so frustrated when I have to call a service company. Let's just say it's a window cleaning company. Maybe I'm ready to have my windows cleaned. And so I call to get an estimate. Well, without even asking any questions, a lot of the time service companies just want to throw a number at you. Well, that'll be $199. Okay. Well, maybe I'll book with you, maybe I won't. Let's say I do book with you. You tell me it's $199. I told you maybe a rough size of my house, but you haven't asked me any questions. Do you want the inside of your windows cleaned? Do you have 2, 3 stories to your house? So here's what ends up happening a lot of the time when service companies, especially, don't ask enough questions. They send their team to the home to do the job, which they quoted at $199. And then the homeowner gets frustrated because the team shows up and says, well, actually, Mrs. Jones, you want that done? Okay, well, that's going to be this much extra. Oh, we didn't know that you had 2 and 3 levels. So either it's going to be a lot more money, or maybe they're not even prepared to service that level of home. Maybe they don't have the right equipment or ladders. Whatever it is, there is never a downside to asking more questions in the sales process. So start working on throwing in some more questions into your sales process, and it's going to help. Here's point number 2. I want you to match their pace. So this is something we go real deep dive into in our coaching program. We train on identifying personality styles. And this is so important in a sales process because you want to match the pace of your prospect. Now, this is just going to be a quick tool that I'm going to tell you how you can start implementing it today. But again, inside of our coaching program, we go into this in so much more detail to help identify personality styles because everybody communicates differently. But in sales, here's a really quick way that you can start matching pace of your prospect. So most people either talk a little bit slower or they talk real fast and are excitable, right? So whatever they are, match that pace. If you have a prospect who's moving slow and wants to chit chat and doesn't mind answering most of your questions, match that pace. Well, let's say you have the opposite. You have someone who's very direct. Maybe they come across a little bit aggressive and they're in a hurry and they just want to get moving, get you started on the job. Match that pace. It's just going to help the overall sales process go a lot smoother. I'm not saying here to forfeit your whole process because there are things that you have to go through. We have to find out if they're in our service area, when they need this done. So there are some questions that you just can't sacrifice even when you're matching pace, but maybe there are some things that you can skip to better serve this client. Or maybe you have some other tasks on your desk and Mrs. Jones just wants to chit chat. Don't rush off the phone with her. Maybe take a couple extra seconds and spend a little time listening to her story that she wants to tell you about whatever it is. So What this does is it helps the overall sales process to feel like, a positive transaction versus just, I need this done, this is how much it costs, and that's the end of it. We're taking you again from being someone who's just a salesperson, to being a sales consultant. And here's why that's important, because consultants get paid the big bucks. Salespeople, yes, you can make a lot of money selling, but if you can go into that mode where people look at you like a consultant, it's a whole nother level. And here's the third one: overcome pricing objections. Well, you might say, Stephanie, how on earth is that not a pushy salesperson? Overcoming objections, isn't that where she says that's too much money and you say, no, it's not, we do this, this, and this? Kind of. When you overcome price objections, there is a way to do it where, again, you're in that consultant mode versus being a pushy salesperson. And it's all going to come back to, yes, you guessed it, asking questions. So take whatever objection they give you and reframe it into a question. Again, we're not being defensive here. We're not defending our pricing or the quote that we gave. We're not rattling off, oh, well, our 10-step process, we're going to do this, 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 this. We're not doing that. We're helping them because most of the time when people don't commit to the sale with you right away, they don't have enough information, or there's something that they're not sure about with this process. So we need to get to the root of it. And most of the time, people will say it's too expensive, even if that's not the real root of their objection. So if you can ask more questions, get to the root of what their real objection is. Maybe they just don't feel confident enough in you. Maybe you didn't present enough value and then you presented this big investment and it doesn't match up to them in their mind, so they're not ready to make that commitment. So by asking questions, you get down to the root of it, and then you can help Mrs. Jones make that decision to go ahead and get on your schedule. So how do you do that? Again, it's not defensive, but you're just going to reframe what they're saying into a question. So let's say, for instance, she says, well, that's a little too expensive, or that's a lot of money. You say, oh, so you feel like that's expensive? What were you looking to spend? How much did you think this is going to cost? Or let's say they say, well, I need to talk to my husband about this, or I need to talk to my wife. Okay, great. I understand. What questions do you think that they'll have about this? And then that's going to help you. Again, you're not being, imposing on them. You're not asking them, wild questions that are going to make them feel uncomfortable. You're just reframing what they said into a different form of question to get to the root of what their true objection is. And then that can help you solve it. And, there's a whole, again, on our coaching program, we go into this in such extensive details. This is just like a taste of it. But I just wanted to share those 3 tips with you because I feel like there's a stigma around sales of it being this bad thing, and we don't want to push sales on people. But most people, if you have a good product or service, they do actually want to buy from you if you can help them and transfer that feeling of your service and products being the best. Help them feel like that and understand that about what you're offering, and then make that sale come together on a positive, great note. So, do you want more information on this sales process that we train so extensively on in our coaching program? And I'm telling you, it's so good. This is the same exact sales process that we used in our in-home service company, and our phone technician, our girls on the phone, they closed at least 80% of the incoming phone calls. Most of them closed more than that, but I'm being conservative because, some were starting out and they weren't as good as others. But once they were trained and on the phones for a while following our process, man, those closing percentages were just really high. So if you're interested in that, go to skilllevelup.com and we're going to send you our free ebook. It's called The 5 Secrets of a Phenomenal Business. And this information is in there. And then, of course, our coaching program, we can help you really get to the next level with the accountability and the coaching that you need. So thanks for watching.